Okay, hey, welcome back to Wrestling Travel Lockdown Sessions, presented to you, as always, by our friends over at True Heel Heat in New York City. They have a great podcast. Check them out. I always say if you want to add one great pro wrestling podcast, go to True Heel Heat. If you want to add two, check ours out. We're growing as we speak. But today, very special edition. I'm very happy to welcome Mr. Al Snow. Thank you for joining us. How are you today?
Thank you very much for having me, and I'm doing great. If I were doing any better, I'd be jealous of myself.
That's awesome. You know what? I was going to say what I miss is going on your Twitter and stealing all the one-liners that you used to have.
Yeah, but it's a different time and a different age, so
yeah,
I can't just make jokes all the time.
Yeah, and I know, and I didn't take credit for all of them, but I surely did plagiarize you.
Listen, I plagiarized. It was I either thought some up or people sent them to me or I found them, but I just thought they were funny and I thought people should have a laugh instead of always complaining or always being negative on social media. So
right now that I think about it, if we say some of those now, it will make more people upset than it will make more people that'll laugh. So
yeah, true.
Now, coincidentally, because I'm not a journalist, but I have been called one, just prior to waiting for you to come on, Collar and Elbow retweeted the ECW match between yourself and Chris Benoit. So I'm going to start there just because what did that match mean to your career?
It was I started getting more noticed, I guess, on a national stage because of, I don't think it was necessarily because of Chris per se, but it was just the opportunity to be on TV, and that started to get my name out there a lot more. At the time, for years. At that point, I think I'd been wrestling for probably 13, 14 years. Maybe it might have been around 12, but I was known for that whole time as the best kept secret in wrestling, which was a compliment for a lot of years. But then you want to tell people the secret, you want the secret to start to get out. But that was quite honestly, I was in direct relationship with the fact that I didn't have a definable character. And that was the big thing that limited me for so many years, is that people couldn't turn around and describe me to someone else. So around that time that I worked with Chris in that match was around the same time as that I was starting to I got noticed by Jim Cornette, when I was accompanying Dan Severn. I trained Dan Severn for his first UFC fight. And, he noticed I had a personality because I can be a bit of a sarcastic smartass. And that was what got me an opportunity with Smoky Mountain, and things kind of picked up from there.
Now, if we back up to right after you're trained, and looking everything up, going through the territories, I'm up here in Wisconsin, Minnesota area, so I'm a huge AWA fan. Did you ever, in your time, do any work with the AWA? I looked it up. I couldn't find anything, but I thought I'd ask.
Yeah, plenty. But it was at the early onset of my career back in '82 through '85 or '84, when I would travel out there, and I was just doing, come in to do jobs, just come in and do the TV tapings. That was it. I would never work the actual territory. There was an opportunity to work it, but it never came through. But because I came in, the last time I came in to do TV matches, it was, I had really good matches with I think maybe Rick Martel I worked with, and Kurt Hennig, and then the Fabulous Ones did a tag, and it was, it impressed Bockwinkel, and there was some potential to go and start working on a regular basis, but it just never came to be.
It just never happened. Okay. Yeah, my journalistic integrity limits me to kind of Wikipedia and going through some stuff, and I'm
Don't worry, most wrestling journalists that is where they get their
I
information.
know. I'm not even a journalist, but I got called one like a month and a half ago, and I kind of stuck with it. I had
Well,
Nikita Koloff.
congratulations.
Yeah, I had Nikita Koloff on, and I was telling him, man, I was trying to do some research, but I just ended up on YouTube watching matches like a complete idiot. And but I got a good story out of him from like 1985, being in the ring with the Bruiser and the Crusher.
Oh, I bet.
It's great stories, and I love when I get a chance to, because I was never like, when I talk with you and I talked with Nikita, I'm comfortable with wrestling, but that heart pounds a little bit. With Nikita, because he was a guy I grew up watching in the wrestling magazines. And before I'm talking to you, I mean, I've seen many interviews with you, and you're so cerebral, I'll call it. I'm not trying to kiss your ass while I have you on, but I'm like, man, this guy's obviously the business very well, and
I
some
don't
of
know
the things.
if I necessarily know it very well, but I can make people believe that I do.
Well,
So
you got me hooked. You got me going, man. I better watch what I say, because I feel like Al Snow could get me in a corner and knock the heck out of me
not at all.
verbally with the matches stuff. What has your been now? You're busy as hell. I'm looking at your stuff, trying to look up with Ohio Valley, the Collar and Elbow.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Gladiator
Yeah.
Sports Network. Um,
Yeah.
and I caught wind of it, and I was just kind of researching here. When you with Ohio Valley getting accreditation for your wrestlers and stuff, and you recently had a book.
Yeah.
I mean, has this COVID time been a time for you to, have you been able to step back, or have you been like us and going, hey, I got to keep busy as hell to keep everything coming through here?
It's been nonstop, and actually in some ways busier. I thought, when the quarantine happened and all of that, there was a part of me that was kind of like, oh, whew, maybe I can take a breath for a little bit. Maybe it won't be so bad. But it, quite honestly, it's been no different. And, and I'm very blessed. I'm very happy that it is that way. And, we have created some incredible opportunities for the platform to grow and generate even more exposure for the talent and for ourselves. And we're on several national networks now, and we're potentially, I think, if you add them all up, we're pretty much in about 150 million homes nationwide. And then with our international partner, FilmVolt, we're on the Roku. We have our own Roku channel. We have our own slot with Amazon Fire and Amazon Prime. And then, we're now partnering with a European sports channel called Sports International. And that channel alone reaches about 690 million homes worldwide. So we're trying to get it out there, and we're attracting a lot of talent now, which is giving them the opportunity for the exposure, and also bettering our television product by bringing in these outside talent, and also helping to better the talent that are there, because now they have an opportunity to work up, up a level, and to get experience from people that have not just more experience, but different levels of experience, working for other companies, that are on a bigger platform, on a world stage, that, necessarily these guys have been limited as far as just regional experience was concerned. So it's a good time. I mean, it's a really, really busy time, but I'm really happy and proud of what we've been doing. And, between myself and my partner, Chad Miller, we're doing everything we can to not just elevate OVW, but I want to elevate professional wrestling as a whole. I want to be able to create a platform that, people that want to and love and have a passion for wrestling can come here and do this for a living and nothing else. And for those that have had a run on a national level, when that run ends, they can have a place to come make a living and contribute to the next generation and reinvent themselves and potentially get another run on a national platform. and make a living doing it and doing nothing else but being a professional wrestler. So that's the goal. That's what we're shooting for.
That's, like I said, obviously knowing who you have been for a long time and now researching everything that you've been doing in the last few years. Outstanding. And the fact that there is somebody like you for the guys coming up and the guys, coming back down is awesome. Now, this European Sports Network, is that the best place for our fans that are over in the United Kingdom in Manchester, England, to catch Ohio Valley?
It's a good place, yeah, for sure. If they're in the UK, they can also catch it, on Roku. They can catch it on Amazon Fire, Amazon Prime. Those are good places to watch both. They carry both OVW TV, and they also carry OVW Overdrive, which is a secondary show that we produce. It's kind of a little lighter, a little more relaxed, kind of like what the old WWF superstars with Gene Okerlund used to be, that type of thing, So it has its own unique matches. We do sit-down interviews with the talent. We do recaps of that week's shows, things like that. And then, and the hosts, they're a little, they try to make it a little more entertaining, make it a little more fun.
So have you, when the coronavirus hit here in the States, it was right around, I was stuck. I thought I was going to be stuck in Canada. I was up in Toronto, right around the end of February. How long did you guys go before you ran a show?
Well, it shut us down, I'd say the middle of March. The only reason I recall that is because it was literally a week or two right before we were going to go national on the YTA network. That was the first national network that we were going to air on. And we were going to go that Friday night. I think it was March 22nd or something. And like a week before, we got shut down. And I do mean completely shut down. The school was shut down. There were you couldn't produce television even without an audience. So for me, I thought, well, this is a blessing, because in a way, because we were debuting to a national audience, and I could do some compilation shows that could encapsulate all the storylines that I was doing at the time. And that way it would familiarize the audience with who these people were, what their motivations were, why they were doing what they were doing, etc. And it was great. It worked for about, I had about, I think 11 or 12 of those types of shows. So it was about 11 or 12 weeks that I already had, a way to communicate a story that the people had not been familiar with, and I could catch everybody up to speed, and it was great. And then it went from week 12 to now week 13, 14, 15, and then it started becoming even more of a challenge to try to create unique and different and interesting compilation shows to retain an audience. And as we went, I mean, the audience numbers started to drop down, and we were getting pretty desperate. And I was very fortunate. Guy, his name's Too Tough Tony, and he operates a small independent thing over in southern Indiana. And Indiana had opened up earlier than Kentucky. And he was kind enough to offer us the opportunity to come over to his arena and, do our TV there, because they were allowed to have an audience. And, we were able to do that until Kentucky opened back up. And allowed us to operate in our own arena here in Louisville, Kentucky. So, we've only been back in our own arena for probably 3 or 4 weeks, I think.
Now, one question I've always wanted to ask somebody in your position is, you're running Ohio Valley Wrestling. You've got collar and elbow. You've got your hands in a lot of things. Are you able to watch the other things going on in the wrestling world? Or is that part of the job, to keep an eye on what an AEW, a WWE, an Impact, Ring of Honor are doing? Or is that just something you almost don't have time to pay too much attention to, but you're kind of aware of what's happening? Am I making sense in my question?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of aware of what's happening. I don't really get much of an opportunity to watch any of the other shows. I'd like to. I'm still a fan of wrestling, but I don't really get much of an opportunity to. And and to be honest, I mean, I really need to be more focused on what I'm doing than to worry about what other people doing. I now understand, like Vince McMahon does not ever see you as a wrestler. He doesn't see you until you're in his ring, because he is so focused on what WWE is doing, not what WCW is doing, not what, he is focused on him and what he's doing. And, and I kind of end up being the same way, I think, in that regard, that I'm focused on OVW. The others, hey, I hope and really genuinely pray that everyone succeeds, because, and I hope one of the other companies get really super hot again, because, it's going to make the business better, for everyone. And, and it's going to benefit the fans. The best times in professional wrestling are when there are multiple companies and all of them are doing well, being successful and attracting an audience. And I hope we get back to that again, very soon. I really do. So, and I hope that we, because territories back in the day when things were regional, certain territories would get hot and they'd run really good for a while, like, Memphis, everybody kind of makes jokes about the regional territories, but be aware, like, realize in Memphis, they had sold out the Mid-South Coliseum every single Monday night for 5 years straight. That's 52 weeks a year for 5 years. They sold out that building. So when they get, it gets hot, a territory gets really hot. And I know, like ECW used to be like that, finally it kicked over and was running hot. And I'm hoping that here soon, OVW will hit its hot streak and will start doing good business the same, which again is only going to benefit everyone else. It's going to create talent that, one, are going to have already some type of an audience, a following. Two, that are going to have the necessary experience and understanding and polish that then when they get acquired by a larger platform, they're going to be able to walk right out there and capitalize on that opportunity to its fullest extent. So, I'm hoping that it all falls together and that way everybody in the business benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. I've just come off the last 3 weeks covering in Chicago Warrior Wrestling, who were one of the first ones on August 7th, had a really big live audience there. They did it outside their football stadium, and the amount of independent wrestling, obviously they brought in some names, but the amount of talent that is out there on that independent wrestling scene right now is insane. And a lot of these guys are starting to get their matches shown on AEW Dark. So I'm really hopeful. As much as at Wrestling Travel, we do the packages to the AEW and WWE. From my history and my standpoint, I'm a big supporter and proponent of independent wrestling and watching these guys and girls grow and develop and make it.
I just, the biggest concern I have and I agree, there's so much talent out there. And there's more physical ability, more athletic ability in the wrestling business now than there ever has been in the history of wrestling. I mean, even in the 38 years I've been in it, I've never seen as much athletic talent as there is now. The key, though, the problem is that the talent themselves are being so far away from what the real art of professional wrestling is, and convincing themselves that somehow the wheel is no longer round, that it's changed. But professional wrestling's developed. It has grown. It has evolved. But the key element, the art of professional wrestling, has not changed. And unfortunately, the more they divert themselves and convince themselves that it has, the less they're going to be able to attract a mainstream audience. They're going to attract a wrestling audience, and that's great. But to have real success, they have to capture the imagination and attract that mainstream audience, that Mr. and Mrs. Walmart. And in order to do that, they're going to have to, really focus on what the real art of professional wrestling is. So I hope that they can.
Yeah, I absolutely. And I know what you're saying, because there's a lot of times I will see things, not necessarily the events that I have, but I'll see it on the internet or the Twitter. We're going to power bomb this 90-pound girl into a table off the top rope. And what is left? What are you going to have to do to a guy my size?
Shoot, yeah, I guess.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just, I'm with you. I got that old school mentality. The king of the death match tournaments that were happening, where every match that night is some type of death match, was something where I'm like, my brain can't compute why that's not a blow off at the end of a feud or something where you would have, because those matches meant something more to me. Now I'm like, I can't watch 37 death matches in one night.
Yeah, I know. And look, we can get into that debate, because wrestling is an art form, and it's no different than, like some people like horror movies, and some people, but some people like the really gory horror movies, and some people that they appeal to that. But it's a minimal, it's a very marginalized audience, for one. But unfortunately, and the one thing that people, the wrestlers themselves lose touch with is that, yes, first and foremost, we're an art. Second, we're a form of entertainment. Third, the fact of the matter is that we end up comparing ourselves a lot of times within the wrestling business nowadays to, oh, well, an actor does this, or there's horror movies, so it should be okay to do the deathmatch shows and things like that. But the real problem is that professional wrestling as an entertainment form, is its own unique form. It literally is like nothing else. You do have aspects of other forms of entertainment and other art, but the whole thing about professional wrestling is to sell the concept, the idea to the audience, and that is what they are desperately wanting to believe in. And contrary to popular belief, they didn't just find this out in the last 2 or 3 decades. They found out in the 1920s that wrestling was predetermined, okay? And they've still paid by the thousands over the years to attend wrestling events and watch it on television, because they were allowed to suspend that disbelief and watch it. It's no different than magic, everybody knows magic's not real, but in order to sell that illusion, everyone within professional wrestling has to agree to sell the same thing. And if you do death matches, or you do these types of things to where you're appealing to a marginalized audience, yeah, you're going to be successful, but you're making it more difficult for us as a whole to sell to Mr. and Mrs. Walmart the concept of, hey, you're going to go watch a competition. I mean, a prime example of this, because it still is today, is Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. That was a complete work, but it made a ton of money because people were able to buy into and believe, even if they didn't believe it, they could just, say, hey, I'm going to watch this because it's going to be entertaining, because these two guys are cutting promos, and I'm just interested to see what happens. But if in the sport of boxing, if you had too many of those types of fights or too many of those types of matchups, then it wouldn't have drawn. Do you understand? If down the level of, think of that match as WWE, and now you've got a bunch of different boxing promotions, and we're going to start doing, a boxer versus MMA fighter all the time. Well, now it's not going to be unique. It's not going to be interesting, and it's not going to be, the work's not going to be as good as what it was for that match. Now it's going to become harder to believe in. It's going to be harder to sell, harder to draw an audience and make money. That's a long answer and explanation as to why death matches, in my opinion, don't work. Or today, You know, and I'm not judging anybody. They can do whatever they want to do. That's up to them. Okay. But, and I, you know, but my advice is to, when you do things, don't just do them to get some momentary reaction. Whatever you do within professional wrestling, sell it, make it mean everything you can possibly make it mean. And then that way you can capitalize on it to its fullest extent. Because at some point, you as a performer, even just as a performer, it's not a matter of when, or not a matter of if, it's a matter of when your career within that ring is going to come to an end. So are you going to just want to do things to just get some momentary reaction or a holy shit chant, or, you know, you're a meme or a video on the internet? Or do you want to do something that, one, is really, quite honestly, is going to make you more profitable? You're going to make more money, okay? Because what are you going to do when you can't wrestle anymore, right? And two, make a memory for these people that years from now they're still thinking about, and they bring it up, you know, thanks to the internet. They had an ECW, you know, that happened how many years ago? And then some fan posted it today. I saw it on social media. You know, have those moments, create those things to where people remember, and, you know, and it meant something to them. But don't just do it just to, oh, you know, and again, I don't care what you do. It's not my circus, ain't my monkeys. Okay. You can throw a bag of cats on each other. I don't care. But you're taking a physical risk, okay, for a momentary payoff. And I don't mean just a financial payoff. All right. I don't care how much you get paid. All right. You can get paid hot, and everybody makes that comment, oh, they did this for hot dogs and beer. Or, you know, well, great. Or you could have gotten paid $100 grand. But you're not doing it. If you're doing it for the money, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And if you're doing that for that, to get that momentary, oh shit, or oh my God, and you're taking that physical risk, that, to be quite honest, people aren't going to remember that moment 2 weeks from now, because there's going to be another holy shit moment that they're going to see that's going to top yours. And then you're going to try to top it, and it's just going to keep on going, you know? And it's not going to mean anything because you didn't do it within the context of a competitive situation to where the consequence had gravity that you could have used it to beat the person or possibly lose. You're just going to do it just for the shock value. And that shock value is going to last as long as a shock does. Just boop, and it's gone. But now you can't walk right the next day. In 10 years, because trust me, I'm now 57. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to go in and get my knees replaced. Okay. You're going to pay a price. Physically, you're going to pay a price. And you're going to be physically debilitated to some degree or another. And that's your choice. But why not get every bit of everything you can out of those moments instead of just pissing them away? So
That I agree. That Conor McGregor fight, the pro wrestler in me thought for sure they drew all that pay-per-view, and I was like, have Conor kick him in the head, and then you have to have a rematch, and there's more money.
yeah, but I agree. I thought for sure they should have put Conor McGregor. Business-wise, I'd have put McGregor over. Ego-wise, Mayweather didn't want to go, you know, he didn't want to do the job, I'm sure. And you know, wanted to keep his record intact and go out as, you know, undefeated as far as boxing was concerned. You know, man, he doesn't need the money. You know what I mean? And, you know, it would have done much better business to have, you know, put McGregor over and work the rematch, and then put Mayweather over on the rematch, even stronger, you know. But he didn't want to, you know, clearly he didn't want to, he wanted to do the job, which is fine.
yeah,
I get it.
no, I agree.
They still made their money. You know what I mean? They still made their money.
Yeah, they did. They did all right. Last couple questions here, because I want to be very respectful of your time. Again, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. You've probably been asked this a bunch of times, and I haven't caught it. But when you were a young Al Snow, when you were first watching professional wrestling, who first caught your eye, kind of gave you the itch? Who was a wrestler that you turned the TV on and really caught your eye?
Well, I'll mention names that you guys, none of you or your audience will probably know, but you know, when I first was watching it when I was a kid, I lived in Lima, Ohio, so I was in the Sheik, the original Sheik, Ed Farhat's territory, and so on TV, I would see Fred Curry, I'd see the Fabulous Kangaroos with George Cannon, the Sheik himself, Bobo Brazil, guys like that. And, I was, really caught up in it. And then Sheik's territory started to go downhill, and they lost TV in my hometown. And I didn't really have any wrestling for a couple of years until the advent of, yes, I'm this old, the advent of cable television came through, which even then you only got 13 channels. That was exciting. And, WTBS was on there, and I flipped it over one Saturday night and saw Dusty Rhodes making his way. They were showing the highlights from the Omni, and I was watching Dusty Rhodes with a torn white T-shirt, all, had gigged because apparently they, Ole and Ivan Koloff had jumped him in the parking lot. He was the special referee. He was coming through the fans to, continue, to be the referee for the match of, I think it was Tommy Rich and Wahoo McDaniels, if I remember correctly, against Ole and Ivan for the tag team titles, the Georgia Championship tag team titles. And I was hooked. I was literally hooked. And then I heard an interview by Dusty. He had talked about that night, and I found out that he literally came in the wrong part of the building. That's why he was coming through the fans, because he had gotten lost. And but it made it even better that he was coming through the fans with his shirt torn, all bloody, like he had just come out of the parking lot. And I was like, that's it. I'm done. I was watching it, and about 14 years old, I made the decision that, this is it. I'm going to be a professional wrestler. That's what I'm going to do. And ta-da, I've been doing it ever since. So
for a long time. Was Sailor Art Thomas in that territory, or am I going back too far?
No. Sailor Art Thomas was had made appearances in Sheik's territory. Yeah, because he worked throughout the Midwest, and he was pretty cool. He got over pretty well too. I thought he was pretty cool. He's one of the few at that time kind of bodybuilder looking kind of guys that was in wrestling, and I thought he was pretty awesome.
My grandfather had briefly trained, and my grandmother tells a story about them walking into a bar in South Bend, Indiana, and going, look at that guy standing up over there, towering over everybody. And they went up, and it was Sailor Art Thomas, and he was sitting down. He was not standing up, towering over everybody.
He was a big man. He was a big man. Yeah.
Final question here, and this is my most important question now. And I want everybody who is able to watch this, how can we follow Ohio Valley Wrestling? I know we've kind of talked about it earlier, but can we plug everything we can to just get more eyeballs on the product, collar and elbow, anything we can here?
Yeah. If they want to, they have more interest in Ohio Valley Wrestling. And on Facebook, it's Ohio Valley Wrestling. On Twitter and on Instagram, it's OV Wrestling. If you want to go to the website, it's ovwrestling.com. If you're interested in the school, even over in the UK, I have several affiliate schools in the UK and Midlands with Slam Wrestling, and down in London, near London. I've got, an affiliate school there as well. We've got one in Romania, one in Hungary, one in Denmark, one in Greece, two in South America, and now one in Alabama with Rocket City Wrestling, one in Colorado with Rocky Mountain Pro, one in Utah with Devotion Championship Wrestling, and one in Massachusetts. So with New England Pro. And you can go to aswa.live if you would like to attend the training center in OVW. We have trained more WWE superstars than anyone else ever. You name the person in the last probably 10 or 15 years, and they came out of OVW. We are the only accredited actual trade school for professional wrestling, sports entertainment, and broadcasting. We do not just train young men and women in just the ins and outs of performance in the ring. We also teach camera operation, lighting, sound, creative writing, television writing, formatting, producing, directing, live event management, social media management. And we will have an online component to the school. And the other thing is that we are in operational territory. We do a live television broadcast every Tuesday, which for the talent is priceless because they are able to acquire experience and know how to perform on television before they ever have an opportunity on platforms such as AEW or WWE. Because if you watch closely, you'll see people that are on those shows that if they were brought right in from the independents, a lot of those talent unfortunately don't have the experience to truly capitalize on the opportunity of being on live television on a national level. Now they do in another place, which is why we do it the way we do it. We don't do a post-produced show. We do a live one to enable the talent to actually learn what it is to perform on live television, so they're better prepared if they go somewhere else. They can follow me, The Real Al Snow, on Twitter, The Real Al Snow on Instagram, and The Real Al Snow on Facebook. And the reason I'm The Real Al Snow, even though now they give out these little check marks and badges, is because there were people that actually, and just recently, somebody faked an account being me. And I'll just, if you do it, just be aware, I will send you a message and go, please, if you're going to fake being a celebrity, raise the bar higher. Like I would want to be like, I'd say I was Brad Pitt or I was George Clooney. You know what I mean? You're shooting low, kid. If you wish to, if you went to collarandelbowbrand.com, that is the website that you can shop at. You can use the code SNOWMAN, SNOWMAN, and you can take 10% off. Even if we have a sale and it's 30% off, you can use the code and now it's 40% off. I'm wearing one of my shirts right now, the Texas Deathmatch shirt that you can get at collarandelbowbrand.com. Let me see, what else do we have? You can watch OVW Wrestling on YouTube. It's delayed as far as when it's put up. But if you want to watch it, you can watch it on regionally, WBNA in Louisville. You can watch it on WQTV in Lexington. We're just now there regionally. If you want to watch it nationally, we are on the YTA network. We're on Sports 11 USA. They are YTA's in 44 million homes, Sports 11's in 55 million homes and growing. We are also on the Lily Network, which puts us in New York City, Washington, D.C., Chicago, Philadelphia, Guam, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Bahamas, all through the Caribbean. And you can watch us there. RNC Network and also the Untamed Sports Network in December. We just signed on Game Plus Network, so we will be there will be further access in the United States, but also now in Canada. Through our partnership with FilmVolt, we're on Roku in about 27 different countries. We're on Amazon Fire and Amazon Prime in about 270. And Sports International, the sports channel, goes into about 690 million homes, I've been told. So, and then here soon, we should be on Apple TV and Samsung TV as well. And we just signed a deal with Hisense and JVC. Hisense's smart TV, their Roku smart TV. We are included on the open menu as a button for OVW TV. You can click on just as soon as you turn the TV on, just like you could as with Netflix or anything else. And with JVC on their Amazon Fire TVs, we'll have the OVW right there, and you can click on it as well.
Now that's cool. That last part is really cool. That's but yeah, like I said, a lot of people, the same thing with Wrestling Travel. I thought we can sit on our asses during this time because we're basically travel, or we could work hard and try to come out the other end stronger. And obviously, you don't strike me as a guy who ever would just sit on his ass anyway. You're always pushing forward. But how can we, what we can do to follow you and everything, having that last bit of paragraph by you is awesome. International shipping available on Collar and Elbow?
That we are now have a partnership with Wrestle Merch. They are opening up a Collar and Elbow store in the UK in both a collar and elbow and and so they'll have the same designs, OVW and a now Snow Store as well in the UK. So it was cost prohibitive. It just was too expensive. I mean, I like the shirts, but all that kind of money too to even buy my own shirts. That's crazy.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna end the show, but if you could stick around for a few minutes past my very terrible Chris Farley type ending. I always tell everybody I've got a terrible intro and a terrible outro to the show. But Al Snow, we can't thank you enough for joining us today. So we wish you the best of luck, and we look forward to seeing you down the line.
We're only